welcome back. Or this might be the same episode, I don't know, I haven't edited it yet. But let's see how this turned out. Get the clamps off. Might have a bit of squeeze out. I'm not trying to hide anything from this video, so if I do mess up, and then we'll just see how to fix it. You may have to doctor some solutions. As you can see, both on this side and on this side. Here we have a little bit of gap, but we can sort of, once we've scraped it and routed the neck, we can go in here and glue some more, because we have a couple of gaps. Those are aesthetic, nothing else. So we're going to get to scraping this, clamping the neck down, and then routing along the fingerboard to get the final neck dimensions. And then we're going to start shaping the neck and taking this down to size. We're going to take this down to size before we start shaping the neck, because this is going to be thinner, and we're going to create a bit of a heel just here. So we're going to take this down, and it'll come up to full size and then go down to the neck shape size. So I'm gonna scrape this away. I'm not gonna film that. I'm just gonna use a scraper and get the glue away. And then I'm going to route use the ball bearing along the binding to get the neck into shape. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, or you think it's too much wood, then by all means try to sand down or scrape, or do something to get some of the wood out of the way before you start routing, because this isn't too bad. But I would take even this, I would take in very small increments, because I don't want the router bit to dive into the fingerboard. So caution is the key here, and once we have that, we'll see how we're going to fill these gaps with glue. Alright, now the The neck has been routed down to size. As you can see, I don't know if you can see, but right here I didn't tilt the plane enough that way so that the router bit started to eat into the binding. Luckily I caught it. What I might do is just replace that part, and then we shouldn't have a problem, or I might replace the entire section. But we are going to try and sand it down first, or even just fill this in using acetone and some shavings from the binding. But what we're going to deal with now is this gap right here, and there's a small gap right here. So what we're going to do, I can see that the fretboard is leveled, so this is either an inconsistency in the binding, which it very well might be. Same here. So what we're going to do is just to fill with dust and super glue, so that we get a concise sort of playing field to when we start shaping the neck. So what I'm going to do is, get some dust. You should always save some of your dust. I fortunately have quite a bit of this from the spindle sander, and use some nice super glue. Ideally it would be really thin super glue, but the really thin super glue that I have is black, so I don't want to have this be any darker than necessary. I'm not going to go in here with anything. I think I might just go with a razor blade to see if I can scrape some of this glue away, or if it's set properly. No, it's pretty set. Okay, here we go. Got a little piece out, and here we go. Get some more. Okay, so we're going to go glue, then dust, and then glue again. Now this is thick, so I'm not going to mask it, but if you use like super thin super glue, then mask off. Otherwise you'll have super glue, you might have super glue inside your frets, which is not as easily removed as the wood glue. So it's just tiny gaps, and I don't have any activator either. So, however, it it dries pretty quickly once you get the dust on. Just pack that in, and these are more shavings than dust, but they should do the trick. And get this in there. I should really use dust, really, but this will do the trick. If you can hear some background noise, that's my oldest son singing. Now this isn't really. So we go, we're going to let that dry. And we're going to go to the other side where we have a gap here. Also, if you're a fan of watching guitar building and want to watch proper guys do it, and I suggest watching Crimson Guitars and obviously Stuart MacDonald, and Dan Earlywine, or Monster Fret as he's called on Instagram. Now for this I'm using a different approach, trying to push some of this in. You don't want to cram it in because you don't want the shavings to lift the fingerboard, but just try to get it in there somewhat. We'll see if that is a better technique. As you can probably tell, I am not a professional luthier. I have never sold a guitar, but I have been making guitars for many years. However, these last couple of builds have been more elaborate than the other builds I've had, which have been sort of, your old standard old Stratocaster, Telecaster, Les Pauls and stuff, where you have templates and you don't need to think or apply yourself in any way. You just sort of use a template, and that's fine. As you can see, that it's pretty good. So we're going to put some glue in there and just spray some of the dust over. Now I have built one kit guitar that was a headless, but the quality of the work that was done before I received it, i.e. the routing of the body, the neck, not the headstock of course because it was a headless guitar, but anything that was related to the bridge and how the mechanics of the guitar would be mounted was so bad that I didn't even really finish the guitar. So I was just CNC'd and packaged straight away. I don't think a human was involved in any process. So if you're going to build a kit guitar, I would suggest going for something a little bit more expensive. I don't think necessarily building a kit guitar will be cheaper than just buying a guitar. If you're going to buy a kit guitar of a Stratocaster, economically I think you'll be better off buying a Squire or something. So you're not going to save money trying to build guitars. See, as where the shavings have been stuck is where the glue is, so I'm going to come back and scrape that off. Now I did sand just a little bit off the edges, and that was so that it wouldn't be thicker in the bottom than the top, because obviously I didn't didn't route with the same bit. As you could see in the fast forward, I did change from a smaller bit that I routed this section with to a larger bit, and that's because I didn't want to go too deep, because if on this lower part, this back section where the bigger bit was, if it sort of gouged away something, that wouldn't really hurt the neck because it's going to be taken down quite a bit anyway. So this will probably be almost half the thickness, not quite half, but nearly there. And I've also sanded down the headstock. This is going to be straight. This is where the tuners will go, and this is going to chamfer off into some kind of shape. And this as well, this will be straight, and this will this might be straight, but this might sort of slant into a thinner build here. So that's that for this episode. Next, we are going to get this alignment just right, this angle, square it up, make sure it's just right. We'll need about a piece this big. And then we are going to make an imprint of this onto the body. And then we are going to route the body. And since we are using a router bit that is larger in diameter than nothing, which these edges are, I'm just going to use this as an example. The router bit will have a radiused edge, and we're going to copy that radiused edge over to this edge again. So it's a bit back and forward, getting the neck to fit. Also, what we're going to do, which I'm not going to do on camera, is to radius this again once more. And all you're doing is taking a radius sanding block like this. Can be bought anywhere you buy guitar making stuff. Crimson, I believe Potvin Guitars has some. StewMac has some. You can choose wood and aluminum. Aluminum is quite expensive. Wood will be sufficient. Use double-sided tape. Put some, or you can use this gold, whatever it's called, which has a sticky backside. And we're going to just sand it, keeping it straight. Keep my fingers like this on both sides, so I make sure that I'm going straight. That way you have a straight radius. If you're going like this, the radius will be off because the sanding block is radius. If you're going like this, you'll have a sharper radius, and you don't want that because you want to know the radius of your fingerboard. This is going to be a 14. Usually I use 16. I'm going to go 14 on this. And then after that we're going to clean up these fret slots that I spilled all this glue into. And then we're going to press the frets in. And somewhere along the way we're going to start shaping the headstock as well. I have an initial thought of it, just sort of, I don't know if you can see that against the maple over here. Sort of going up here. This will be however long it'll be here, approximately. Small rounded up, and then a large bend culminating in a sharp edge here. This will be pretty much as it is. We're going to refine it some. This is just a rough sanding that I did on the spindle sander. And we're going to leave this here to here approximately as a heel. And we're going to have a small slant here and a larger slant here where this section tapers off, hopefully. Sometimes I just sort of nick it with the sander and I have to change my idea. So that's pretty much it. And once that is done, we're going to route the neck pocket of the guitar. And then once we have the neck pocket routed, we can place the bridge. We can decide the bridge placement, and then we're going to route the pickups. All of that is just template stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you for watching. This has been, I think, a rather short episode. You've watched me do some fuck-ups with this, and yeah. So welcome back for the next episode.